out there that believe. Like I had a vivid dream before I won, so I believed that I was going to win.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I mean, maybe it's just coincidence.
This mom claimed she'd win the lottery, then did. But here's the twist: she's not the only one. These winners all sensed something, and one scored hundreds of millions.
Number 10. Melodia Harris, $745,000.
Just knowing my life literally changed overnight. It's just amazing.
Melodia Harris was a 32-year-old mom of 3 in 2014. She was living with her family in Georgia and was working as a data specialist for the Red Cross. She had a pretty happy life, but let's face it, anyone with 3 kids could use a little more money. And she got it. A quick pick ticket from the Georgia State Lottery turned out to be a life changer for Melodia. She was the winner of over $745,000, only she didn't know that yet. But then, the day after the draw, she had driven out to Target to pick up a few things. As she stepped out of her car, something in the back of her mind told her to stop and check her numbers before she did another thing. She went to the Georgia Lottery website and saw all the numbers that were drawn were also on her ticket. She never made it into the store. She just cried happy tears in the parking lot before getting back in her car to tell her family the good news. How did she know this lottery ticket was so important? She doesn't know, but she did know what she wanted to use her money for. She was going to pay off her debt and then set up college funds for all her kids. She was also going to help out her other family members with her new fortune. Nobody's heard about her since, which is normally a good sign for lottery winners. If they go bankrupt, you're guaranteed to see them in the news, so we'll bet Melodia used her win wisely. The next winner on our list has an even weirder story to tell. He predicted he'd win the lottery years before it happened, and all because of something he said himself. Number 9. Grant and Taryn Hawks, $1.2 million. Grant and Taryn Hawks are a happy couple from England. Earlier this year, their life changed forever, but if you asked Grant, he'd tell you he knew this moment was coming years ago. He told the press that a few years ago, he said to Taryn that they were going to win the lottery. He can't remember exactly what he said. After all, it was just a little private joke that wasn't meant to be taken seriously. But the moment he said it, he knew it would really happen. In fact, he was so sure they'd win, he started reading articles online about what happens when you win the lottery. He wanted to be prepared for when their big win finally came. He admits it sounds a little crazy, but he turned out to be right. A few months ago, Taryn told him they'd received a message from the National Lottery. He knew immediately that they'd won, and he had been right for all those years. Their Lotto Millionaire raffle ticket turned out to have hit the 1 million British pound jackpot. That's about 1.2 million USD. Grant will never know why he knew he'd win, but he was 100% right. Grant might have known he was going to win, but he was still amazed when he won. The next winner on our list had a pretty offbeat response when it happened to him. Number 8. The man from Adelaide, $1.8 million. Everyone on this list had a strong feeling that they would win the lottery, but this anonymous winner from Adelaide, Australia, took it to the next level. He was so sure that his jackpot was coming that he wasn't even excited when he saw he was a winner. He told the press that he wasn't surprised at all when he checked his ticket and saw it had won a whopping $1.8 million. It was late at night when he checked the ticket, and he said he mainly felt sleepy. His longtime girlfriend got him out of bed because she said she couldn't believe he didn't want to celebrate. He said it wasn't that he wasn't excited, it was just that it didn't come as a surprise to him. He said he wants to use the money to play golf all over the world. It's his favorite hobby, and the ability to play as much golf as he wants makes him much more excited than he was when he found out he was a millionaire. He might not have been excited when he won, but the next person on our list was so thrilled he made up for it. Number 7. Misael Cruz, $4 million. California resident Misael Cruz was having a totally ordinary day when he picked up a Powerball ticket from an Arco gas station in San Bernardino County. At least, it was ordinary until the clerk wished him good luck. Suddenly, he said, he felt like he was definitely holding a winning ticket in his hand. It's the only time Misael had ever felt like that in his entire life, even though he buys tickets regularly. And incredibly, that feeling would turn out to be correct. His son was watching a story on the news after the drawing, and he called Misael to come have a look. That was when Misael realized his lucky feeling might have been right. When he checked the numbers, he realized that ticket that felt like a winner was now worth almost $4 million. It's a huge payout, but it's also true that he was just one number away from scooping up the $600 million jackpot. But even though he wasn't the biggest winner, anyone can see he was still super lucky. Misael claims it's not going to change his life completely. He says he loves his job and he went back to work straight after collecting his check. Experts say that's always a good idea, so we think Misael might be one of those winners that really makes the most of their luck. Misael isn't the only one who did something unusual after winning. Maybe knowing you're gonna win in advance gives you more time to think about how you'll react, because this winner did something super responsible. Number 6. Anonymous English winner. $4.8 million. In 2021, this anonymous winner from Newcastle in England won the UK National Lottery jackpot. They took home the equivalent $4.8 million. The man chose to keep his identity a secret, which we know from experts is the smart thing to do. But he didn't want to keep his whole story a secret. That's because he said that, for the first time in his life, he experienced the feeling that he was holding the winning ticket in his hand when he was handed the piece of paper that turned out to be a jackpot winner. Crazy, right? Sometimes you just know you've been lucky. Unusually, he chose the annuity option, and he'll be getting 20 grand in his account every month for the next 20 years. That means he'll know what financial security really feels like. He told the media that he wants to use his money to help his family to live a life of luxury. He's also pretty generous and wants to donate a huge chunk of his new fortune to charities. Want another winner who hit the jackpot? Here he is. Number 5. Anonymous Indian winner. $7 million. This anonymous man from India spotted a lottery raffle game one day. That was all he needed. He had a gut feeling that this was the game that was going to help him win millions. He needed to be patient, but it paid off. 2 years later, after regularly buying those lottery raffle tickets, he won the raffle jackpot. Now he's worth an incredible $7 million. He says his win was all down to his positive attitude. After all, he never would have trusted his gut feeling or continued to buy tickets after years of waiting for a win. Maybe we can all learn a thing or two from this anonymous winner. Always trust your gut. Hitting the jackpot is great, but the next winner had another method. She trusted her gut so much that she holds the record for most lottery wins ever. Number 4. Deborah Brown. $150,000.
Deborah Brown says she just had a good feeling about a particular series of numbers. Those were 1031. She bought 30 Pick 4 tickets using those numbers. Brown's feeling paid off in a big way.
We know what you're thinking. Why is a winner who only won a few $1,000s so high up on this list? Sure, Deborah isn't the biggest winner ever, but her win was so incredible we thought she deserved a higher spot on the list. It might be the best example ever of someone knowing for sure they were gonna win before it happened. This story is so crazy, you might find it hard to believe, but we guarantee it's 100% true. Deborah Brown from Richmond, Virginia, won the lottery a mind-blowing 30 times in just one day. Yes, it is possible. But before you ask how she did it, we need to warn you that there's no good explanation for what happened. She just knew she was going to be a winner. The story started when Deborah bought a stack of 20 Pick 4 tickets, all with exactly the same numbers. 1, 0, 3, 1. Then she went about her day, but she said she kept seeing the numbers everywhere she went. The numbers popping up around her convinced her even more that she'd picked the winning numbers. So on her way home, she stopped at the store again, this time buying another 10 tickets. again with the same 4 numbers. And it turned out her instinct was 100% right. She'd picked the 4 winning numbers, which meant all 30 of the tickets she bought were winners. The jackpot for Pick 4 games is $5,000, and she won it 30 times, meaning she took home $150,000. It's not the biggest jackpot on her list, but it was the hardest one to achieve. She really needed to trust her feeling that she was going to win. There's no doubt that's an incredible story of someone knowing they would win, but it wasn't a gigantic jackpot. For that, you'll need to meet the next winner on our list. Number 3. Timothy Schultz, $29 million.
And since I started doing this, I've discovered that quite a few lottery winners did believe before they won that they were going to win, and some of them believe that it's like the power of attraction type of thing, and others believe that it was meant to be, and they were given signs before it happened, and I just find it really interesting.
Timothy Schultz was just a young man working a gas station job back in 1999 when something unexpectedly changed his life. He had a dream. But this wasn't any ordinary old dream like the ones we all have. In this one, Timothy saw himself winning the lottery. He felt inspired by this and he decided to buy a Powerball ticket at work the next day. He said, as he bought the ticket, a special feeling washed over him. He was certain he was going to win. For the next few days, he tried to convince his friends and family that he was going to win the lottery. But, as you'd expect, they weren't impressed. Nobody would believe something that crazy. Nobody ever expected that Timothy might be right, but he was. At the young age of 21, Timothy became the owner of a winning ticket worth $29 million. And remember, this was back in 1999, so it was an even bigger jackpot back then. But he was about to hit a bump in the road. While he was buying the ticket, one of his gas station coworkers had seen what he was doing. She'd said they should split the ticket, but she never paid for her half of the ticket. But, as you'd expect, when that girl found out he'd won, she was very interested in claiming half of it like she'd originally planned. Timothy disagreed that she deserved any of the money, and the argument went to court. There, they discovered something very important. The ticket had been purchased in the state of Iowa. By law, you have to be at least 21 years old to play the lottery there. While Timothy had just had his 21st birthday, he luckily qualified as a legal player and winner. But the girl was only 20 years old. She was forced to give up on the whole thing. The first thing Timothy did with his money was to go back to college to study broadcasting. And he still does that today. He now runs a YouTube channel and podcast where he interviews other lottery winners. Timothy saw his win in a dream, but our next winner didn't have to go to sleep to know he was going to win the lottery. Number 2. Randall Rush, $50 million.
It's a huge responsibility, and if you don't have the right people around you and who think in the right direction, it can be very good and it can be very dangerous too. So
Randall Rush had a pretty interesting story behind his win. He claims that, on one seemingly normal day, a set of numbers randomly popped into his head. He wrote them down, not knowing why he'd thought of those numbers in the first place. Then, one of his friends suggested that maybe they were Randall's lucky lottery numbers. Now, the numbers made sense. Randall became instantly convinced that he was going to win the lottery, and he went out to buy a ticket. When it didn't win, he repeated the purchase with the same numbers every week for the next 6 years. After all that time, why didn't he give up? Because he knew luck was just around the corner. He was sure of it. He kept playing, but after all that time, he would sometimes forget to check his tickets. One day, he looked at his cat and saw it looked pretty angry. He realized that he'd forgotten to buy cat food. If he wanted to spend the night with a happy kitty, he knew he needed to head to the grocery store. So he did. While he was there, he decided to use the opportunity to check the growing stack of lottery tickets that were just taking up space in his wallet. He handed over one ticket at a time and was told that they weren't winners. Until the very last one. Randall says that even though he expected to win one day, he expected maybe $3 million at the most. But what he got was a whopping $50 million. The 58-year-old says he knows how crazy it sounds that he was sure he'd win eventually, but he can't deny that's what he felt. So what did he do with all that luck? His first act as a multi-millionaire was to quit his job at a business that rents heavy machinery. Then he set up a meeting with people who can advise him on his finances. But that's not the end of this incredible story. When he was 26 years old, Randall had gone through a rough patch in his life that meant he very nearly ended up homeless. Luckily, he was able to get back on his feet, but he never forgot how that felt. Now he's a millionaire. He wants to set up a trust fund that will help hungry and homeless children. So, his big win isn't just going to make Randall's life better, it could improve the lives of children in need too. It's always good to use your money for good, but the last winner on our list accidentally used his money to destroy a lot of stuff. Number 1. Elwood Bunky Bartlett, $330 million.
Easier for the universe to manipulate a machine than me. So I figure I'll let the universe work with the machine instead of trying to work me.
Elwood Bartlett, better known as Bunky, had his own unique reason for knowing he was going to win the lottery. He was in his 40s and working as an accountant, but behind the scenes, he was doing something very different. He was a practicing wizard. He even taught Wicca practices to other people in a very popular bookshop. Bunky says that a few weeks before his win, he did a tarot card reading for himself. One of the cards he drew told him that he needed to take the time to focus on his faith. So he decided to make a deal with the gods. He prayed and told them that he'd do what they said, but only if they provide the money he needs to quit his job. He didn't care how he got the money, but he figured a lottery win would be the easiest way to fulfill this deal. So while driving to his class at the bookstore, he stopped to buy $10 worth of Mega Millions Quick Pick tickets. He was certain whoever had made that deal with him would make sure the random numbers won the jackpot. And as crazy as it sounds, he was right. He was one of 4 people who split a giant $330 million jackpot. Bunky chose the lump sum, and after taxes, he was $32.6 million richer. He kept up his end of the deal and immediately quit his job as an accountant to teach Wicca full-time. He was also more than happy to give away large amounts of cash to basically anyone who asked. Rumor has it he's one of the nicest men on Earth. But we all know that making a deal like that is never a good idea. Sure, he was probably just a little crazy, but if he did make a deal with something, he had no idea who he was bargaining with. And that means he couldn't predict what the price would be. But he sure found out. He used his money to try to help his friends, but their businesses he funded went bankrupt almost straight away. They blamed him for their bad luck and stopped talking to him. Then he bought the bookshop where he taught. It had been super popular before he owned it, but it went bankrupt almost immediately after he reopened it. His real estate investments were disasters, and his new record label went under after only releasing 2 albums. He also spent years trying to develop the world's greatest online multiplayer game, but all he's got out of it is criticism and bad press from people who don't even know him. His only success was a pizza franchise. But even though that earns him money, it's become another way for strangers to show their hatred for him. Its Google page is covered in reviews from people who clearly just want to hurt Bunky on a personal level for no reason at all. As weird as it is, the money seemed to turn the whole world against him, even though everyone who knows him admits he's a lovely person. He's still got about $15 million in his bank account, but you can bet he wishes he'd never won that money. At least one winner on this list chose to read up on what to do when his big win finally came. Do you know what you'd do? Probably not. In fact, there are a lot of crazy things lottery winners go through if they're lucky enough to hit the jackpot. Want to find out what will happen? Here's our list of the absurd, strict rules Mega Millions winners have to follow.